The Indigo Star hummed softly as Daniel Whitaker sat at his station. The ship was a cacophony of sounds, voices blending in choppy conversations, the distant chime of equipment, and the low thrum of engines working in tandem. Most days were spent translating mundane texts where paperwork reigned over excitement. Yet he relished the diversity of species aboard. Daniel called out Aaliyah, a fellow translator, strolling over with a mischievous grin. "Heard you're getting an upgrade." "Upgrade?" "Tried emotion," he retorted with a chuckle, gesturing toward the towering stacks of documents piled precariously on his desk. "These are all Viridian trade logs. I don't think they're looking for a poet." "I beg to differ," she laughed, leaning against the console. "From what I've heard, Captain Alara has a knack for discovering hidden talents. Could be your ticket to something interesting." "Please, I handle words like a hammer on glass," Daniel said, trying to shake off the anticipation building in him. But he knew Aaliyah was right. He'd always been fascinated by the Viridian culture, filled with rich history and intricate designs, all rotating around rhythmic storytelling. "Then aim for fragility. Break some barriers the right way," Aaliyah said, playful and encouraging. "Break some barriers, huh?" Daniel mused, the thought lingering as he resumed his work. Just then, his console blinked with a new assignment, a meeting with the Viridian delegation. "Oh no. Here we go," he muttered, gathering his documents hurriedly. The Great Hall of the Indigo Star was an expansive chamber adorned with luminous crystals and holographic displays. Daniel took a deep breath. He was nervous but also excited. The Viridian delegation was known for their beauty and elegance, but today he was here to translate negotiations for artifacts, nothing out of the ordinary. Aaliyah winked as she departed. "Remember, steady words win hearts." Taking his place at the interpreter's dais, Daniel's eyes scanned the crowd, finally landing on Captain Alara. She was tall and striking, with ethereal green skin and deep azure eyes that seemed to capture the room's light. When their gazes met, an electric charge shot through him. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice smooth and melodic. "We come today to discuss the terms of our artifact exchange. But first, let me express our admiration for your versatility." Daniel felt himself flush as he stood before them. "Thank you, Captain Alara. As we delve into negotiations, I'm here to ensure clarity in our discussions." "And you, translator," she said, her gaze steady on him, "what is your name?" "Daniel Whitaker," he responded, his heart pounding. "It's an honor to assist." "Honor," Alara said, testing the word on her tongue, "is spoken with the resonance of one's heart. I hope you hear our intentions as clearly." "Absolutely," he said, surprised by the weight of her presence. "Please, let's proceed." The meeting unfolded with the Viridians discussing the intricate details of the trade. Daniel translated with precision, but all the while his focus was drawn to Captain Alara, whose passion for her culture shone through her words. "I believe the strength of our trade lies not merely in artifacts," Alara continued, "but in the stories they carry. Each piece tells a tale of our heritage." "And what do you propose as part of our exchange?" Daniel asked without thinking, captivated by her passion. "I suggest that we share our stories. You have much to teach us about human experience," she replied. "Perhaps we could organize cultural evenings? Exchange poetry or art?" "Cultural evenings?" Aaliyah echoed, leaning in from her post nearby, clearly intrigued. "Sounds like the perfect way to build relations." Alara's eyes sparkled. "Indeed. Stories can bridge worlds." After the meeting, Daniel pulled Aaliyah aside. "Did I just agree to host cultural events with them?" "Seems you did," she laughed. "Well, you always said you wanted to step beyond the mundane." "What if I mess it up?" he fretted, running a hand through his hair. "Easy, just let them tell their stories," she reassured him. "You'll do fine." Later that evening, alone in his quarters, Daniel pondered the day. His heart raced as he thought about Alara's gaze, the way she spoke of their cultures blending. As he practiced poetry in his mind, attempting to craft something worthy, his communication device beeped. "Daniel Whitaker, respond," the screen blinked. "Ah, yes. Captain Alara requests to meet with you to discuss the upcoming cultural evening," the device chirped back. His heart sank and soared at the same time. "Of course I'll be there." In the glow of mood lighting, Daniel paced nervously outside the designated meeting room. He felt the weight of responsibility as he pushed open the doors. There she was, Captain Alara, standing under shimmering shadows created by the glowing crystals above. "Ah, Daniel. Come in," she said, her voice a blend of warmth and determination. "Thank you for inviting me," he replied, stepping inside. "I did want to talk about the cultural evening." "Of course. Tell me about human poetry," she encouraged, her eyes brimming with curiosity. "Well, it's much like yours, I think, rooted in emotion, life experiences, and connection. But we can often express it in metaphors," he began, feeling more confident. For instance, our love for nature often draws parallels with human experiences. Nature, Alara echoed, tilting her head. Is it true that trees can whisper wisdom? Indeed. We listen to their rustling leaves, the way they stand tall despite storms, he replied, feeling the connection deepen. What about Viridian poetry? She smiled, her expression shifting. We often write about the stars, how they guide beings across the cosmos. Seems we're not so different after all, he said, meeting her gaze. Maybe our stories can blend. They leaned closer, the space between them dwindling as Alara summoned the words to describe her culture's essence. As the conversation deepened, their shoulders brushed, igniting something unspoken. The energy pulsed, wrapping them in a moment far beyond negotiation. Daniel, Alara whispered, her voice barely reaching his ears. You speak to my soul. His heartbeat quickened, and he dared to take her hand, their fingers weaving together. And you illuminate mine. In that instant, he felt something shift, a promise woven between their words. Their cultures, their lives, were intertwined in a brilliant tapestry. All the fear and anxiety melted away, leaving only the reality of two beings connecting in a universe so vast. In a world where negotiations often ruled, it was a connection that felt profoundly authentic. Together, they were ready to explore the depths of their shared stories. Chapter 2: The Language of Souls. As the days flowed by aboard the Indigo Star, Daniel found himself increasingly captivated by the prospect of the cultural evening. Every interaction he had with Captain Alara added layers to their relationship, weaving a tapestry of understanding and respect. One afternoon, he found himself in the ship's lounge, surrounded by a mix of crew members from various species. Aaliyah plopped down beside him, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Have you finished planning the evening yet? Or are you still daydreaming about Alara? She teased, nudging him playfully. Shush, it's a serious gathering, Daniel replied, feigning annoyance while his heart raced at the mention of Alara. I need to figure out how to introduce poets from two very different worlds. Just be honest. And don't forget, people or aliens, connect through stories, Aaliyah encouraged. Do you plan to share your own poetry? Maybe. I just want it to be special, he admitted, running a hand through his hair. It needs to resonate. Then start writing, she chimed, clapping her hands together. When you get nervous, just remember that Alara believes in your talent. Daniel cast his gaze out the window, watching stars streak by. What if I fail to express what I want to say? Or what if you open her eyes to a completely new experience? She countered. Difference is what makes it beautiful, Daniel. With Aaliyah's encouragement ringing in his ears, Daniel returned to his quarters that evening. He sat at his desk, staring at a blank screen, fingers poised over the keyboard. The weight of creativity danced in his mind until the door chimed. Come in, he called out, hoping it was Aaliyah again. To his surprise, it was Alara, looking radiant even in the ship's artificial light. Hello, Daniel. I hope to find you here. Captain Alara. What brings you to my humble abode? He said, the formality feeling amusingly out of place. I wanted to discuss the upcoming evening, she replied, her gaze flicking to the screen. Were you writing? Trying to? But it seems my muse has taken a vacation, he responded, a sheepish grin on his face. I keep staring at the screen, waiting for inspiration to strike. May I? She asked, gesturing to the chair opposite him. Daniel nodded, heart fluttering. She settled in, crossing her graceful legs. Tell me what you want to express. I want it to reflect our different yet connected cultures. But how do I put words to that? He sighed, feeling overwhelmed. Start with what you love about your world, she suggested, leaning forward. What inspires you? Daniel considered her question. Nature is a huge part of it. The beauty in the chaos of life, the cycles, even the resilience of trees. Trees that whisper secrets, right? She prompted, her eyes brightening. Exactly. They tell stories through their rings and rustling leaves. Our history is scribed in nature, he said, warming to the topic. In fact, I wrote a little piece about it. Then let me hear it, she urged, an enticing smile playing at her lips. But it's not ready. It's rough, it needs work, he protested, feeling the heat rise in his cheeks. Everything needs a beginning. Please, I want to hear your voice, her encouragement wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. All right, he relented, clearing his throat. Here it goes. The whisper of leaves, the sigh of the breeze, asterisk. In stillness and motion, stories unravel with ease, asterisk. Branches embrace the tumult, stand tall and endure, asterisk. Life whispers its wisdom, both fragile and pure, asterisk. Echoes of laughter, shadows that chase, asterisk. Every season a heartbeat, a dance in space, asterisk. What resides in silence, blooms bold in the sun, asterisk. Nature weaves her canvas, the tapestry spun, asterisk. At the conclusion, he leaned back, feeling a mix of relief and apprehension. Ilara's eyes sparkled as she clapped. Daniel, that was beautiful. The way you capture nature speaks volumes. You think? He asked, surprised at her enthusiasm. I know. Her gaze turned serious. Your words resonate. You see the world deeply. I appreciate that, Ilara, really, he replied, feeling a warmth wash over him. What about you? What do Viridians write about? Much of it is based on our connection to the stars, she explained, her eyes distant as if she were gazing beyond the walls of the ship. We admire constellations and the tales behind them. Each star glimmers with the essence of who we are. It's like capturing a moment in time. Wow, that sounds poetic already, he said, intrigued. Do you have something you can share? Ilara hesitated for a moment, and for a heartbeat, the atmosphere turned solemn. All right. Here's a piece I wrote about our connection to the cosmos, she began, her voice calm yet stirring. In the cradle of night where wishes take flight, asterisk. The stars weave our destinies, radiant and bright, asterisk. Each flicker a whisper, a promise to keep, asterisk. In the expanse of the heavens, our secrets we sweep, asterisk. For time dances onward, yet moments remain, asterisk. In the silvery glow of the celestial plane, asterisk. What binds us together transcends all we know, asterisk. A tapestry woven, as above, so below, asterisk. The air hung thick with the weight of her words. Daniel found himself entranced, his heart racing. Ilara, that's incredible. You capture the soul of existence. Like your trees and whispers, she replied, her eyes locked with his. We all have that common thread, don't we? Stories waiting to be told. Absolutely, he agreed, feeling a camaraderie growing between them. What if we combined our pieces for the upcoming evening? Blend both worlds, she asked, excitement lighting up her features. Exactly. We could present the essence of each culture together, Daniel suggested, heart racing at the thought. Poems on nature and the cosmos. I love it, Ilara beamed. Let's create something beautiful together. It will showcase our intertwining worlds. As they plotted and began to draft a joint piece, Daniel was lost in the flow of creativity. He felt more in tune with Ilara as their ideas danced back and forth like sparks igniting new ideas. Maybe we can structure it like a conversation, Daniel proposed. Trees talking to the stars? The cosmos giving advice to the earth. Stars are wise, offering guidance. The trees share resilience, she added, her fingers tapping in invisible rhythm against the table. It could reflect how we both learn from one another, embracing differences. Let's draft this, then he said, fueled by excitement. They worked late into the night, crafting their combined vision, the silhouettes of trees beneath starlit skies forming a narrative that transcended their origins. As they finished, Daniel's fingers brushed against Ilara's. Both of them froze momentarily. Her luminescent skin seemed to glimmer even more in the low light. Sorry, he murmured, pulling back his hand, though he didn't want to. No, it's all right, she replied softly, a gentle smile gracing her lips. It's nice to touch, to connect. We're building something. And in that moment, Daniel felt their connection extend even further, an uncharted territory emerging amid the old scripts and verses they had shared. They were not just two poets from different worlds, they had become collaborators, each reflecting a part of the other. Now more than ever, they were ready to explore the stories waiting to unfold together. Chapter 3, Uncharted Feelings. The days leading up to the cultural evening were filled with energy. Daniel and Ilara worked tirelessly, intertwining their poetry and crafting an introduction that honored both their worlds. Each encounter was a blend of ideas exploring inspiration, history, and their personal stories. On the morning of the event, Daniel awoke with excitement, his heart beating faster than usual. He dressed in a crisp uniform adorned with insignias that represented humanity. The ship's corridors buzzed as crew members prepared for the evening's festivities, a fusion of music, art, and storytelling from across the galaxies. Are you ready? Aaliyah asked, appearing suddenly at Daniel's door, a teasing look on her face. Ready? I'm just trying not to trip over my own feet out there, he replied, feeling a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. Relax. You'll do great. Just be yourself and let the words flow, she encouraged, leaning against the doorframe. And remember, Ilara's on your side. Yeah, she has a way of grounding me, Daniel admitted, thinking of Ilara's calming presence. The lounge transformed into a vibrant showcase adorned with glowing decorations, pulsing lights, and art from various species, creating an inviting atmosphere. The air was thick with excitement and the mingling scent of alien delicacies. Daniel could see members of the Viridian delegation already gathered, their conversations a harmonious blend of melodies. "Where's the captain?" Aaliyah asked, scanning the crowd. Before Daniel could reply, Ilara entered. She radiated confidence, her attire a stunning mix of flowing fabric that shimmered under the lights, echoing both elegance and strength. She moved effortlessly through the gathering, greeting crew members and exchanging laughter. Daniel felt a swell of admiration watching her. "Daniel," Ilara called, spotting him across the room. She approached, a bright smile lighting her face. "Are you ready to share our creation?" "Absolutely," he replied, trying to match her enthusiasm. "I've been rehearsing the introduction in my head all day. It's just, well, you know how the nerves can hit." "Let them," she said lightly. "They're part of the journey. Just don't forget to breathe." "Thank you for that life advice," he chuckled, feeling a little more at ease. "I'll focus on that." As the time drew nearer, they took their positions on a small stage adorned with plants that gleamed under faultless lights. Aaliyah introduced them, gesturing dramatically to capture the audience's attention. "Friends and honored guests," she began, "tonight we gather not just to showcase the beauty of our cultures but to honor our stories through the art of poetry." Ilara and Daniel stood side by side, exchanging glances that encapsulated their connection. "Today we will weave together the voices of trees and stars," Daniel said, his eyes on the crowd, then returning to Ilara's radiant face. "Who better to express the bond between our worlds than two poets?" Ilara nodded, her expression warm. "We first acknowledge the stories the trees whisper, and then we shall listen to what the stars reveal." They shared their collaborative creation, Daniel starting with the opening lines. "In the cradle of night the trees lean to hear, asterisk. The laughter of starlight, a language so clear. Asterisk." Ilara took her turn, her voice enchanting as she continued. "Each twinkle a promise, each shimmer a song, asterisk. Binding us with threads, where we both belong, asterisk." The audience hung on every word, interspersed with gasps and murmurs of appreciation as Daniel and Ilara exchanged stanzas, their energies amplifying with every couplet. When they finished, applause erupted through the hall. Daniel felt a warm flush of joy and pride. They exchanged a grin, exhilaration coursing through them. As the night continued, a wave of mingling voices filled the air, laughter enveloping the space. Daniel and Ilara moved among the guests, sharing anecdotes and asking about their experiences. Each new story added depth to their understanding of one another's cultures. "Do you know why stars are so significant to our people?" Ilara asked, as they stood near an art display, crafted by a talented Lumini artist who had captured the cosmic essence within his work. The colors radiated softly, and Daniel couldn't help but be drawn to the brilliance. "To guide you in your travels?" Daniel guessed, intrigued. "Yes, but also to remind us of the connections we share," she explained, glancing up as if the stars were watching. "They remind us that distance cannot sever the bonds of kinship." "I get that. We often look up to the sky to find comfort," he replied thoughtfully, trying to relate. "For us, it's like a reminder that we're all part of something bigger." Ilara smiled softly. "See, that's exactly why these exchanges matter. We're woven from the same fabric of existence." They lingered for a moment, feeling the pull of each other's energy, and then Aaliyah stepped in, breaking the spell. "Hey, lovebirds, you two are mesmerizing. Enough with the staring. Time to mingle. I'll catch up with you later?" Daniel asked Ilara, half hopeful, half not wanting to leave her side. She nodded, her gaze lingering on. "Hink it. Just enjoy yourself and see where it goes." As Daniel wandered through the room, he found himself mingling with various species, listening with deep interest as tales unfurled before him. Yet his thoughts kept drifting back to Ilara. Eventually, unable to resist any longer, he searched the crowd until he found her again, chatting animatedly with a group of Viridians. "Daniel," she called, waving him over. "I was just sharing what you've written about trees. They're enthralled." "Oh, really?" he said, feeling a rush of warmth. "I hope I didn't oversell them too much. They appreciate what your words represent." Alara explained, her eyes shining. You've captured the essence of life in ways we don't often express. Thanks, but it's easy to write when you have someone inspiring to work with, he replied, sincerity evident in his voice. Flattery will get you everywhere, she teased lightly, a playful glint in her eyes. They continued to engage in lively discussions, but the connection simmered just beneath the surface, growing stronger with every shared laugh and story. Shall we take a moment to ourselves? Alara finally asked, glancing toward a quieter corner of the room. Certainly, he replied, glad for the opportunity. They found a small alcove adorned with glowing designs, away from the noise. As they stood together, the atmosphere shifted, becoming more intimate. The lights cast a gentle glow, illuminating Alara's face perfectly. Tonight has been wonderful, she said, her voice soft as she met his gaze. You have a way of making people feel seen. I think we do that for each other, Daniel replied, his heart in his throat. You see the world in such a unique light, and it's refreshing. Alara took a small step closer, their shoulders brushing, stirring something explosive between them. We should embrace this connection, she murmured, her words low and enchanting. Absolutely, Daniel said, breathless, feeling the pull between them intensify. Creating together has revealed so much. I didn't just mean our poetry, she whispered, their faces inches apart. I meant this, weighing emotions that run deeper. I feel it too, Alara, more than I ever expected, he admitted, unable to look away from her mesmerizing eyes. Their hearts raced, and in a moment filled with unspoken understanding, they leaned in slightly, sharing a brief but electric touch of foreheads. Time seemed to pause in that gentle contact, weaving a connection that transcended words. Laughter boomed nearby, shaking the reverie. They pulled back, a mix of shyness and excitement swirling between them, knowing the night had opened doors they had both wanted to walk through. Let's rejoin the others, Alara suggested lightly, though her tone conveyed a deeper promise yet to be fulfilled. With a nod, Daniel took her hand gently. They returned to the festivities, their connection deepening as they held onto that moment, not yet spoken but understood, something bright waiting to unfold between them, no longer hidden in shadow. Chapter 4, The Leap of Faith. The aftermath of the cultural evening echoed through the Indigo Star. Conversations sparked and flowed with a new energy, both crew and delegates buzzed with excitement about the night's performances. Daniel and Alara, however, found themselves lingering in the delight of the shared experience. Can you believe how well it went? Daniel asked as they leaned against a balcony railing, looking out at the stars streaming by like quicksilver. The audience was captivated. I felt it, Alara replied, her gaze fixed on the stars. Your words resonated with so many. She turned to face him, a radiant smile illuminating her features. You pulled everyone in like a tide. I just followed your lead, he admitted, warmth flushing through him. You made it easy. Alara chuckled softly. Then I must thank you for the inspiration. You see things with such clarity. Maybe we should collaborate more often, he suggested, a hint of excitement threading through his voice. That would be wonderful. There's so much left for us to explore, she replied, her eyes alight with possibilities. Suddenly, Daniel felt a motive greater than mere collaboration take root in his heart. You know, I've never connected with anyone like this before, he confessed, leaning a bit closer. Not just with poetry, but everything else too. Alara hesitated for a moment, uncertainty flickering across her face. Sometimes connections feel like they defy logic, don't they? Yet here we are. Yeah. It's confusing, he said, swallowed by the moment. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. A playful smile danced across her lips. You're making this sound like a love poem. Maybe I should write one, he joked, though inwardly it stirred warmth he'd never pooled before. Do it, she urged, her expression encouraging. You have an ability to string words together that I admire. I'll think about it, he said, chuckling. But first, maybe we should go somewhere quieter? We can talk more freely without the background noise. Are you suggesting we escape? She teased, eyes sparkling. Are you that adventurous? Why not? It's just the Indigo Star, it won't fly away, he retorted playfully. Lead the way then. Alara said, a daring spark in her tone. They wove through the corridor, guided only by the soft glow of ambient lights. The ship felt alive, an outsider buzzing with the sounds of different species interacting. Finally finding a secluded observation deck, they entered. The vastness of space opened before them, an awe-inspiring canvas dotted with countless stars. Wow, Daniel breathed, looking out. It's like we're floating in a pool of diamonds. Elara stepped closer to him, taking in the view. We are, aren't we? Each star tells a story. Like ours, he replied, still captivated by the night sky. It feels unreal sometimes. Unreal and beautifully complicated, she said softly. We create our stories with every choice, every interaction. I like that, he murmured, turning to face her. Every word we spoke tonight added to our narrative. True, and that's what makes it significant. We share what we learn, she said, her voice low and sincere. You've brought something new into my life, Daniel. He met her gaze, feeling a rush of emotion. And you've brought clarity to mine, he admitted. I never thought I'd connect this way with anyone, especially someone from another world. Maybe that's why it feels so special, Elara replied, stepping even closer, their energies intertwining like a thread. Do you think it could be something more? He asked, the question hanging in the air between them. She hesitated, taking a deep breath. I certainly hope so. But what does that mean for us? Daniel felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. I don't know. Maybe surprising ourselves in the process. Her lips curved up in a devilish smile. I like surprises. They often lead to growth. Okay then, he said, emboldened by her words. Let's surprise ourselves. As they stood facing each other, the energy shifted palpably. Daniel's heart raced, but he took a breath, leaning in fractionally. Can I? Yes, she whispered, giving him the encouragement he needed. He closed the distance, their lips meeting hesitantly at first, testing the waters. Fireworks exploded behind his eyes as he felt the warmth of her skin, the softness of her lips. It was like tasting stardust, something utterly transcendent. Elara leaned into him, deepening the kiss as they lost themselves in the warmth of the moment. Time faded as they explored, each small shift igniting a playful spark of intimacy brighter than any star they had encountered. As they finally pulled apart, breathless and wide-eyed, Elara bit her lip, a soft laugh escaping. That was unexpected. Unexpectedly amazing, Daniel corrected, still disoriented. Why didn't we do this sooner? Maybe it's all about timing, she suggested, her eyes twinkling. Or perhaps we needed to build up to it. Seems like we may have created the momentum, he retorted, trying to regain his composure. You did say you wanted to write me a poem, Elara teased, mischief dancing in her expression. Guess I owe you one now, he said, feeling both exhilarated and shy. Take your time, she replied, her expression softening. No pressure. Pressure hasn't been an issue for me lately, he admitted, a playfulness in his tone. But let's not let it define us. Absolutely, she said, stepping back slightly, her hands still resting on his arms. We have time to navigate this and figure it out as we go. Yes, Daniel replied, feeling a newfound determination. Let's embrace whatever this leads us to. We don't need to have all the answers now. In fact, the thrill of discovery can make this all the more fun, Elara added, her voice warming his heart. I like the way you think, he said, a grin breaking across his face. You're a dangerous woman. Her laughter rang like music in the quiet of the observation deck. Only when it comes to matters of the heart. Next time, we should maybe do this with a little less audience, he said, lowering his voice conspiratorially. I'd like my poetry to stay between us for a while. Agreed, she said, her eyes sparkling. Let's keep our little secret, shall we? Only if you promise to keep inspiring me, he replied, the playful banter settling into something more meaningful. Deal, she said with a wink. Now about that poem. Daniel laughed. Okay, it's a date. And it'll need to be worthy of the stars. Good luck, she teased, her tone light. I'll be waiting for the masterpiece. With their hearts racing from the kiss and the excitement of possibilities, they stepped back into the ship, feeling as if they were embarking on an adventure that transcended interstellar boundaries, a journey not just across the stars, but into the depths of emotion and connection. As they returned to the lively atmosphere of the ship, Daniel cast one last glance toward the observation deck, where countless stories lay just waiting to be told. Armed with newfound resolve, he knew their poems would illuminate paths yet to be explored, intertwining their fates in ways neither had anticipated. Chapter 5, A New Horizon. The sound of unending clicks and whirs filled the air as the indigo star traversed the cosmos, becoming a familiar background to Daniel and Elara's burgeoning relationship. Days turned into weeks, and their connection blossomed, words transformed into gestures, glances morphed into embraces, and laughter echoed through the corridors of the ship. On one such day, Daniel found Elara in the lounge, engaging with some of her fellow Viridians. They were discussing ancient myths, their voices rich with excitement. Daniel couldn't help but admire her animated expression, her eyes bright as she shared stories from her homeworld. He approached, feeling an inexplicable surge of warmth in his chest. Daniel, Come join us, Elara called, gesturing for him to sit beside her. We were just talking about the myth of Selisara, the Stardrake. Stardrake? Daniel echoed, intrigued. That sounds like something out of a legend. A beautiful tale, one of the Viridian crew said, smiling at him. Selisara soars through the skies, embodying the light of the stars. It is said that when she swoops down to bless the earth, she enhances the crops for the harvest. Elara's stories of Selisara always fill my heart, another Viridian added. They remind us of our connection to the cosmos. Daniel chuckled. Well, that makes sense now. With the way Elara talks, it's as if we could see the Stardrake taking flight right here in the ship. Maybe one day. Elara teased, nudging Daniel playfully. Haven't you ever wished on a star? I've wished on plenty of them, but mostly for good coffee, he joked, earning a laugh from the table. But I guess magic does happen sometimes. Perhaps you can wish to travel to Viridia, the third Viridian offered, leaning closer. It is a place where the stars are alive and the echoes of our myths fill the air. Sounds tempting, Daniel said, faking contemplation. I'll need to make sure to add a detour in the itinerary then. Or perhaps you could be the one to write a human myth? Elara challenged. Your words carry a beauty that parallels the deepest lore. Okay, now you're putting pressure on me. Daniel grinned, though her challenge stirred something in him. What would I even write about? Elara tilted her head, deep in thought. Maybe a tale of connection across worlds? Good idea. But what about dragons? He suggested, a playful spark igniting in his voice. Every myth needs dragons. Written in stardust. Elara added, the excitement palpable in her voice. With the ideas bouncing between them, a plan began to formulate. As the discussion dwindled, Elara leaned in toward Daniel, her voice a soft murmur amid the fading chatter. Shall we go work on that dragon story? Absolutely, he replied without hesitation, his heart racing at the prospect. Later, in the tranquility of Daniel's quarters, they gathered around a small table scattered with data pads and holographic displays. The room buzzed with a whirlwind of creativity as ideas flew back and forth. Okay, let's see, Daniel said, flipping through a pad. We start with a human hero who meets a Viridian who can speak to the stars. Elara interrupted, her eyes twinkling with delight. They journey together to seek Selisara. Perfect. But why did they start their journey? He wondered aloud. To rediscover a lost connection, she suggested, leaning closer, her voice low. The hero feels lost, unable to find their path. The Viridian shows them the beauty of possibilities. Daniel nodded, engrossed in their collaborative brainstorming. And then, in the end, they realize that the journey itself is what connects them to each other. Like us, Elara said, her eyes searching his. Every conversation, every shared moment has brought us closer. Exactly, he exclaimed, invigorated. Let's shape the ending to reflect that bond. A legendary hug beneath the dragon's wings. It felt almost surreal, sitting here, weaving their own story, mirroring their connections so closely. Do you think this will mean something to others? He asked, suddenly contemplative. Why wouldn't it? Elara replied, her eyes focused on him, her tone earnest. Everyone longs for connection, for stories that resonate. I suppose you're right, Daniel admitted, feeling a swell of hope. Let's make it a beautiful blend, like both our worlds, she encouraged. Weaving our cultures together. As they continued detailing their story, the atmosphere around them felt charged. Ideas flowed effortlessly and laughter punctuated their brainstorming sessions. Time slipped away in a haze of creativity until the room dimmed and the ambient glow offered a gentle reminder of the hour. Wow, Elara said, stretching lightly and looking at the data pads loaded with notes. We've created quite the tale here. Yeah, we did. Daniel replied, equally energized. I didn't expect the words to come together so easily. Maybe that's because we're in this together, she said softly. Our hearts are aligned. Is that what they call it? Aligned, he teased, nudging her lightly. I think we should trade poetry whenever we collaborate. It seems to bring out the best in both of us. I agree. Elara replied, her smile infectious. How about we perform this together too? Can we really do that? Create our own version of the myths? He questioned, both excited and nervous. That would be something. Elara nodded emphatically. Yes. Let's share it during the next gathering. Imagine the audience's reaction. Okay, I'm in, he said with conviction. But we'll need more dragons just to keep it interesting. Dragons and stardust, of course, she replied, her laughter echoing in the cozy space. With their playful banter, the atmosphere felt electric. Suddenly, that familiar tension drew them closer. Elara's hand brushed against his, and Daniel's heart skipped. Daniel, she said, her eyes searching his, do you feel? Yeah, he interrupted, unable to articulate the depth of emotion swelling within him. Before he could finish, they leaned in again, their instincts guiding them. The kiss felt like the merging of their worlds, gentle yet charged, infused with passion and curiosity. Time melted away as they explored the uncharted territory of their bond, feeling the warmth radiate between them. When they finally parted, breathless and wide-eyed, Daniel noticed the lingering glow of their connection. "I think we should keep creating together," he murmured, still lost in the moment. "I couldn't agree more," Elara whispered, her hand lingering on his arm, igniting the sparks anew. "Let's explore every story, every possibility." With renewed enthusiasm, they dove back into their notes, fueled by newfound inspiration and connection. Their laughter filled the room as they built their narrative hand in hand, not just creating a tale but also crafting a future that promised endless adventure side by side. Under the watchful gaze of twinkling stars outside the ship, they embarked on a journey far beyond earthly realms, a saga just beginning, entwined with stories waiting to be written.